Hey folks, welcome back to the Cotswold Collectibles YouTube channel. I am Greg Brown, owner of Cotswold Collectibles. We're continuing our series on the Lanard Ultra Core 12-inch figure line. In 1999 and has been continuing on.
Yep.
But we're going to continue on with the series. This is part 4, and this time around we're going to be talking about
the plastic ears.
The plastic ears.
The plastic ears.
So we've got Chuck here. Chuck was generous enough to bring his collection with us, to here to us, and we just thought it was very interesting to. This is a series of figures that really kind of gets overlooked. Mm-hmm. They had some highs, they had some lows, but they were out there and people were playing with them. And so like we said in previous videos, there's not a lot of resources out there. If you know of any resources, please comment and make a comment in the comment section below. But it just doesn't get any love.
It doesn't get any love. And we're going to give it some love.
Yeah, so we're trying to make an attempt to kind of show what at least Chuck knows about it. And if, we're, like I said, this is going to be a 6-part series. We're in part 4 right now. So if you see something or whatever like that, comment below and let us know. Hey, I got I've seen this or I got that, and share an image.
Yeah.
Because we're learning.
This is purely just me looking at boxes and looking at images, toy shows, just and trying to remember things from my childhood as well.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, I'll let Chuck take it from here, man.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on, Greg.
No problem.
This is the plastic figures. This is when these figures may be 15 years old. Probably the oldest ones are those. So in previous videos, we talked about how they started getting more realistic with some of their military figures. Mm-hmm. Well, they transitioned into like a more realistic look, but they started doing like plastic flak vests and plastic shirts and stuff like that. And that's where those figures come in over there.
Yeah, the plastic. Yeah, they have cloth pants, but then they have the plastic tops that is all molded.
Yeah, and their boots are part of the figure. You can't remove the boots. Yeah.
Are the pants even removable?
Pants are removable. You find a lot of like worthless versions of these at conventions without pants that you can find really cheap.
Right.
Now the cool thing about these figures is they did have cool heads.
Right.
And the heads are compatible with the better bodies. So if you ended up with a body that was bad and the head is good, you could pop it off with some hot water and put it on.
Could you get like air dryer too or something like that?
You could. I prefer hot water.
Hot water, gotcha.
The core was definitely cutting back when they were making those. The accessories, besides the things that were on their heads, all the accessories were the same, and they came with sprues that you had to cut out yourself.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, they were starting to do that with the 3 3/4 inch line as well, because I remember this guy in particular right here.
He's pretty memorable.
Yeah, and I want to say what they were doing at the time with the 3 3/4 inch core line is that it was really weird. They went away from O-rings.
Yeah. They went to like kind of like the spy troops, the G.I. Joe spy troops, and the G.I. Joe Valor versus Venom kind of style.
Yeah, they were going to that. The paint apps were a little bit sus, but yeah, they were obviously when they were making that transition with the figures, it was with the 3 3/4 inch figures, they were obviously making a transition here. But so you're saying these are about 15 years ago when they came out?
Yeah, I mean they probably made these type of figures, barring these two, and this guy. They probably made these type of figures for probably the longest running production. Various boxes, various places, various prices,
stores,
various qualities. Some of them were, more detailed than others. Some of them came with more accessories than others. This was also when they introduced their talking guy. This guy does not talk, but you can see that they just reused the tooling here. He's got the holes.
Yeah.
He's got the holes in his chest. It's a cool head, but most of those are I don't know. They weren't really. When I saw them at the store as a kid, and I saw a lot of those at Walmart, they weren't like really like cool.
So did these guys have names like the other ones? Can you walk us through that?
Those did not have any names. They didn't start getting names until these came out.
Which were more connected to the 3
Yeah, more
inch.
when I was in high school.
Right.
Those guys, they're just basic soldiers. I mean, they'd come out with some name that maybe, you know, Arctic Soldier, something like that.
Right, real generic.
Nothing generic. That guy is when they also started doing adventure figures with the plastic chest. He was in the same vein as those ultra adventure figures that we got.
Right.
He's just not as detailed, not as exciting.
Yeah, it's got a great head, and the helmet's pretty cool. But I mean, everything else. I mean, man, it's like this almost reminds me of a lot of the early formative figures.
Early formative. But I tell you what was cool about those was there was a lot of these overseas that came with like an animal to fight.
Right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So like they didn't have a lot of animals to fight the guys with full soft goods, but you know, a lot of times Lanard would 2-pack this with like a cyber gorilla.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah. So this is actually from their 3 3/4 line, but in some places in the world they changed this color and packed them with a plastic chested core figure.
Right.
And they did this with the cyber gorilla. I've seen them with tigers, snakes. I've seen them plastic shirted figures that they pair with canine core figures, which we'll talk about in a later video.
We'll talk about that in another video, yeah.
But they paired these guys up, these adventure figures with plastic chest. They paired those up the most with like a.
You're much into a tiger, do you?
I mean, I wish I did. I've never seen one in person. Yeah, I've seen them in boxes. I'm sure, you know, they were easy to get in value stores in other countries, but I never saw them here.
Yeah, I remember about this time, these were kind of really becoming less and less available.
Yeah, less and less available.
And they were, I think that they were focusing more on the 3 3/4 inch line because, I mean, you know, the times they are changing. You know, people were kind of, and I think that's probably why they were cutting back on the cost and everything like that, because it was just like, you know, to do all those accessories and stuff like that, people just really weren't wanting it.
Yeah. The 3 3/4 line was still going strong, though. I remember
it was.
They had still, you know, cool sculpts, cool accessories, and the price was still right on those as well. Yeah,
and the vehicles they kept on. They had like I was on a group last night and was talking about the gunboat that they had a really cool gunboat.
Yeah.
And they, you know, they were real smart. They would just change the color a little bit every year, change the package.
I actually had the gunboat. I found it on sale because it was part of their King Kong series.
Really?
Yeah.
But yeah, I still collect some of this stuff, and like I said, you know, we're trying to sell the 3 3/4 inch stuff as well. And they've even kind of pivoted a little bit, because the early ones they were almost kind of a dirty, war beaten kind of looking figures, but now they're kind of getting bringing some more color back to the bad guys.
Yeah,
you talked about, I think they were called the Marauders, and stuff like that. So they're keeping that. So, all right, so we've talked about these guys.
So let's talk about these guys.
This guy right here.
They basically use the same tooling as those. They were a little more kind of adventure focused. They came in more boxes like this. They also came in blister packages, and then they had more deluxe versions with more accessories, bigger boxes. This guy was $6 at a Fred's.
Wow!
But he was like their water guy. The green guy was Bugs. The winter guy right there, his name was Atlas. Sub was the water guy, urban guy, and then they got a pilot guy, Blast.
And he has that same microphone, speaker chest.
Yep. What I can say was really cool about these was that, and I picked these two specifically, is they had versions of the core heads, but in unconventional hair colors that you couldn't find. So, like, you couldn't find this guy in a blonde hair before this figure.
Right.
And you couldn't find this guy in black hair before this figure. So, and that was another problem with these was I've seen quite a few of these where I don't know if the neck post wasn't cured correctly at the factory, but the head breaks off of these.
Really?
Yeah. So none of mine have done that, but I've seen that before in bins, thrift stores. So
it's a shame the head sculpt. I mean, like this guy in particular. I mean, he's a little bit dirtied up, and he's doing a type of yelling pose or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's a shame that at least the heads were nice.
Yeah, the heads are nice, and like I said, if you find one of these at a thrift store without any pants for $1, I totally buy it, pop the head off, and put it on a good
Put
body.
it on the body. Yeah, I got you.
These guys, I actually like these guys a lot. The core decided to do something more character based. So all these guys actually have names.
Right.
And I remember these came out roughly when I was in high school. So probably like 2009-ish to 2012 at Walmart. I remember these were really heavy at Walmart, and these had 3 3/4 versions directly correlated.
Yeah, like I said, I remember this guy being that, and this guy as well.
Condor. That's Condor.
I mean, what's interesting is,
he looks like Action Man.
He definitely has an Action Man vibe. The gun is super cool. The jetpack's cool. It's just like, I mean, again, you're looking. This is again that speaker chest, and it's like, man, why don't you just add the jacket or whatever? Yeah. And this thing would have been tight.
Yeah,
the head sculpt's cool.
Yeah, but there are 3 3/4 versions of these figures that look exactly like these guys.
Yeah, I have these guys.
Yeah, I think his name is Rucker. He's like their muscle guy. This guy was Ghost. He came with ninja accessories too. He had like a sword and
I think this guy went good. He was good, and I think he went bad. They had a lot of where they were jumping teams.
This guy's name was Condor, and then of course I can never have enough bad guys. This was actually my favorite. This is the Plague or Simon Krill. Simon Krill.
Those were the bad guys. They were called the Plague.
Yeah,
and that's that same head sculpt from the back.
It's the same head sculpt, but it's in red.
It's in red.
So it's to me, it's a whole nother character.
Because it's got the little skull piece back there, and he's got a little mini gun.
Yeah, but these had good accessories with them. Like I said, I think they are these as cool as the ones with soft goods? No, but I think these were cooler than.
They're definitely more cool. They're definitely cooler than these because at least their accessories are pretty unique. Yeah. So I mean, they cut tooling on those different things.
Yeah, a 1/6 scale minigun is always hard to get. So
really,
yeah, I like the Power Team one's hard to get. The Ultra Core one's hard to get.
True.
So if you can find one and give it to an action hero guy, that's always fun.
Right.
But these were nice. They made these for a few years, and then it's kind of like these started kind of disappearing off the shelf. Like they just focused on 3 3/4 stuff. And then somewhere along the way, these popped up on shelves, and this was probably the most value version of a core figure I've ever seen. They had cool heads. Again, the heads you can pop off and put on a better figure, but they have about 3 points of articulation, and they can't even really hold their weapon. They have to have
the legs don't move. The shoulders move, and then I guess you would say that the wrist move and the head moves.
And they have pegs to hold their
the gun.
Their backside's not even painted.
Well, barely the front is painted.
Yeah, barely the front's painted, and this guy's have rolled up sleeves, but his skin's not even painted.
Not even there.
These are official core products, and they made quite a few of these. Maybe $5 or less at Walmart.
The thing I remember when we were talking about this off camera is, there was a time when they were just not just these guys, but other companies. They were cranking out these I remember they had Captain America and Iron Man, and they were just
Titan. That's the Titan series.
Yeah, they were that tall, but they had very minimal POA, points of articulation for those who don't know, and I remember we would have conversations with different guys, and we'd be like, "Why did they cut tooling for something like that? If the money they could have spent, they could have done it like that." But I think that Lanard was following that trend, that they were just kind of going for a cheap money grab, maybe.
Yeah, cheap money grab.
And having some form of presence out there, and something for their vendors, their retailers. If a retailer said, "Hey, listen, we want to carry some 12-inch figures. Do you have anything?" Hey, yeah, we got us.
That's what they have. Yeah.
We have this. So,
but I feel like I don't have any proof of this, but I feel like when we were getting these here in the United States, crazy versions of these were still floating around
in other countries. Yeah, that makes that tracks.
But this was roughly 2013, 2015 era.
Mm-hmm.
Then these disappeared off the shelves. I'm pretty sure the 3 3/4 ones are still at Walmart. I followed them off and on. I bought the King Kong ones that came out in 2017.
A lot of us did.
Because they were cool sets, they were well priced, and they had like a Samuel L. Jackson guy and a Tom Hiddleston guy, and they looked like the actors, which was cool. In 2017, the Corps actually did bring back like some cloth figures with accessories.
What is that mini gun? But that's looks like
the problem with these was that I think they were in the right spirit, but the figures were not as good. When they had advanced to double jointed knees, they went back to single joints, and these guys can't even bend at the elbows.
That's almost like a Hall of Fame body.
Almost like a Hall of Fame body, but this is what you're getting with, you know, nice accessories and a decent uniform. These came out within the last 10 years, but again, it's inferior to what we had shown
what they used to have
previous videos. And then, from what I understand, Lanard Ultra Core stuff just kind of went silent for basically up until about last year.
Really?
Yes. So, I think you've mentioned this before, but out of nowhere, Sam's Club had an exclusive 4-pack of Ultra Core stuff, and it was these guys.
Interesting.
And these aren't like super phenomenal, but there is charm to these. There's a charm to these that I like.
The astronaut's always going to catch people.
The astronaut's cool, and he's posable too. So he's kind of like a generic version of Buzz Lightyear, and they have the classic Ultra Core heads.
It's kind of like they took their 3 3/4 inch design body and made it for a 12-inch figure.
Yeah, and I thought those were pretty cool. The price was right on those. I mean, it was like, I think it was probably like $20-25 for 4 12-inch figures.
Right.
They had an astronaut, a fireman, like an Army Ranger, and a mountain climber guy.
Interesting. And they're all packed together?
All packed together, but they had no firearms. It was all just like rescue equipment or logistical type equment.
Gotcha. It looks like they were just unpainted.
Yeah.
Looks like older stuff. They just didn't paint. I don't know.
The astronaut was definitely the standout one from that set.
Yeah. And see, again, that's the crazy thing. And it goes back to that discussion I was having with other people. And it's like, you had existing tooling of stuff, but you had to cut new tooling for that body.
Yeah.
And to me, and I don't know, I've been in business, I've been working for Cotswold for like forever. But I haven't talked about how much it costs to cut tooling.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap, and to me, you would think you would just want to use the existing tooling and just whatever. But,
yeah. Well, they cut tooling for this, and actually, his bottom here says 2023 Lanard, made in China.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm guessing this tooling was cut in 2023.
Right.
But it was also interesting about these are clearly Ultra Core guys, but the box they came in said nothing about Ultra Core. There was nothing Ultra Core on the box. It just said something like Sam's Club.
Oh, it was like a private labeling thing.
Adventure figures, something like that.
Yeah.
And you saw the figures in the box, and then there was accessories and part of it. That was it.
Lanard, MNC Toy Center, and Chat May are famous for that. It was kind of like Have Gun Will Travel. If somebody wants to do a private label for their particular brand, they'll say, okay, we'll do this. And that's when you start seeing some Chat May, or kind of like what you just saw at Sam's Club.
I remember Chat May was notorious for doing that with Toys R Us. They went under like a Discovery Channel.
Yeah, they were going to their brother.
Animal Planet label.
Mm-hmm.
So
they got the license. Well, it's an interesting series. It's kind of a little bit,
I'd say underwhelming.
I wouldn't say disappointing. At least they were trying to put stuff out. It's interesting that one's been the most recent thing. All right. Well, I think we've covered this one. What are we going to be talking in next week's episode?
Next week's episode, Lanard actually made a few 12-inch, I'm going to call them figure females. Because they made a few. I don't have a lot of them. They're hard to get. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about vehicles, and we'll talk about some of their other stuff that was 12-inch, let's say 12-inch compatible.
Yeah. All right. Well, make sure if this is the first time you're watching this video, make sure that you like and subscribe. We definitely are trying to build a community here of 12-inch collectors. If you check out our YouTube channel, we have a lot of stuff that we talk about. We talk about vintage collecting, vintage repair, stuff like that. We talk about stuff that's coming in to Cotswold Collectibles, but then we like to cover these things about stuff that we kind of grew up with collecting. And also, if you know anything additional that you would like to chime in about UltraCore, comment below and just let us know, because if we get enough information from you guys, we'll try to find out and put that information together, and we'll do a follow-up video that talks about all the different stuff that you guys have contributed. But check in for next week's video. But until then, keep collecting.